So when I announced that I was actually going to shut this aquarium down to replace it with a Noise Highline 400 for Discus, mixed reactions. A lot of people telling me, don't shut it down, George, it's so beautiful. Why are you destroying something like this? Hi everyone, George here and welcome to another video from the GFS gallery. A very different video for you guys today. We're going to talk about this aquarium here. This is my Aquascaper 1200. Many of you may have seen it already. If you haven't, then I do recommend checking out the playlist which goes through the whole kind of journey. The purpose of this video is actually to kind of ramble. I haven't done a ramble for a good while and I just want to kind of outline the journey that I've been on with this aquarium, talk about some of the details, talk about what it's meant to me, some of the lessons I've learnt. And I really hope you enjoy it. I've really enjoyed living with it. Like I said, it has been a journey and yeah, quite sad in a way that I'm getting rid of it soon. I'm actually closing it down at the end of this video. The plants and some of the hardscape are going to live on in the new Aquascape down in London for a client. And yeah, I'm really happy to be able to kind of share this journey with you. So we'll go right back to the beginning and we'll go all the way to the present. So let's go back to 2016. I started a collaboration with Evolution Aqua. Evolution Aqua are known as a pond manufacturer, but they started diversifying into the aquarium brands. And as a consequence of that, I was invited to visit their head office up in Wigan in the northwest of the UK. We developed the Aquascaper brand. And I was already kind of branding myself as the Aquascaper. They wanted to effectively buy that brand off me. And part of that deal was I was contracted with them to work for them 2 days a month with the aim of developing a new aquascaping range for Evolution Aqua under the name the Aquascaper. And so the Aquascaper range from Evolution Aqua was born. And as a consequence of that, this aquarium was actually produced, hand-built in Wigan. It's a prototype model. It's the first ever Aquascape aquarium that was made. Brand new aquarium is obviously shipped to my home, put in the GFS gallery in actually a different location. Empty tank, beautiful white gloss cabinet. At the time I had the Kessel A360WE Tuna Sun lights, which were a great performer, and I used those for a good couple of years. And I set up my first aquascape in here and it was great. I really enjoyed it. Lots of video content, of course, from that. I'll overlay some B-roll cinematic footage during this video as I talk about the various parts of the story. I used 2 Jbl filters at the time. This was before I started my role as an Noise ambassador. And the Jbl filters were great, but they didn't have the pre-filter and the heater that the Noise filters had. But great performers, the Jbl filters, and grateful to Jbl for supplying them, of course. Always used inline CO2 injection on this aquarium, and almost always used the Tropica specialised nutrition, although I did go through a long period of using the EA Aquascaper liquid fertiliser that I also helped to develop. Another great all-in-one liquid fertiliser. And I've got great results. I have loads of beautiful fish in here, gouramis, which I still have a couple in there right now, rasboras, and a classic kind of nature aquarium style. And as with, I think, all of the aquascape iterations that I've had in this aquarium, they've all been fairly low maintenance plants and almost always easy plants. And I think that really helped to kind of define my style, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm kind of known, I guess, in the industry as someone, as an aquascaper that tends to use the easy plants. And the reason for that is I just love to make the aquarium hobby more accessible, more beginner friendly, and that's a big reason I like to use the easier plants. You can succeed with them without CO2 injection or highlighting or, fancy fertilizers, etc. So although it looks stunning and colourful and all the good stuff, the good news is that almost all of these plants in here you could arguably grow in a non-CO2 injected aquarium without particularly high lighting. That kind of formed my kind of core mission, really, and my aquascaping style is a reflection of that, to make aquascaping kind of more accessible and beginner friendly. And while I'm on that kind of vibe, I just want to mention the George Farmer podcast, and the first season is dedicated to beginners and making the hobby more accessible and digestible. So if you don't already listen to the George Farmer podcast, then please do consider checking it out. I'll leave a link in the description. And the aquascape evolved. It went through 5 or 6 iterations. I'll overlay some of those right now. I've had lots of guests in the home that have seen this aquarium, ranging from James Wong, who's a well-known TV presenter, gardening expert with an amazing Instagram account, and I'll leave a link to that. We did an interview for Radio 4. I've had Adam Paschkeller over here, Yuri's, the German aquascaper that most of you may have heard of. Joey Mullen, King of DIY, actually filmed this aquarium for his channel as well. And lots of other aquascaping kind of folk. It's just been a part of my story, a part of my kind of journey with aquascaping. And when I first had it in 2016, I wasn't very well known on YouTube, and my presence has grown considerably on this platform, and I'm obviously super grateful for that, and I'm super grateful to you guys for watching me right now. The biggest sense of gratitude I have is that I can execute my hobby, because although I'm a self-employed full-time aquascaper and it is my job, at my core I still am a hobbyist, and I'm deeply passionate about my hobby. And to have this opportunity to get that message across to you guys through various media forms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and now the podcast, my website, and my book that is coming out in November. This has been a huge part of that progression, of that evolution. And it's a little bit emotional, actually, to know that I'm closing this down today. And that's why I wanted to tell you that story before it closes down. And I hope this aquarium and the aquascapes that have been created inside it have helped impart maybe your aquascaping journey. I get plenty of messages online, people saying that they're really sad to see this go. Please don't tear it down. And I think that's another topic that we should cover in more detail. The need to evolve and try out new things. So when I announced that I was actually going to shut this aquarium down to replace it with a Noise Highline 400 for Discus, mixed reactions. A lot of people kind of telling me, don't shut it down, George, it's so beautiful, why are you destroying something like this? And it's a really interesting point. People are motivated by different things with their aquascaping, and as a content creator, it's important for me to have opportunities to create new content, and sometimes that means new aquascapes. Of course, you can create content evolving something, but I feel that this is the right time now. It's aquarium itself is a prototype model, and consequently there is some micro bubbling in the silicon, and there's a kind of very low level chronic anxiety that the tank is going to kind of split at any minute and I'll have 80 gallons of water all over the floor. So from kind of just a purely practical perspective, it's important that I consider replacing the whole system. And then also from a content creation perspective, it gives me opportunity to create brand new content for new fish, a completely new style of aquascape, new equipment, etc. And another element to this is actually, as a hobbyist, I want to grow, I want to develop, and one of the best ways to do that is to try new things. So that's the story. As beautiful as it is, and as much as I enjoy maintaining it and consuming it as a hobbyist, as a sense of therapy, this has actually helped me through some dark times in the last 4 years. It's been a real help, I have to say, and hopefully it's helped maybe some of you guys as well. And I don't think we should underestimate the power, the therapeutic power of aquascaping. But it's time for a new project, and as sad as I am to see this go, I think the balance is more in the favour of excitement for the next thing. So I am, as I'd said, replacing it with an Awase Highline 400. This is a high-end premium aquarium. You may have seen my Awase Highline 175 for the Malawi cichlids, which is just behind the camera. And it's going to be, hopefully, one of the best high-impact fish tank / aquascapes that I've ever done. So a lot of my aquascapes are very plant heavy, and the emphasis in the aquascape is more based on the plants, the healthy plant growth, and that's not going to change. But with the Discus aquascape, obviously the Discus are very much the centre of attention here, and I'm really looking forward to actually having an aquarium which is largely focused on the fish, but balancing that with hopefully a beautiful planted aquarium as well, and a beautiful aquascape. It's going to be very Echinodorus heavy, big Amazon swords, very hardscape dominated, and I think a kind of plain sand foreground for ease of maintenance, because the fish that I will be having in there are Stenker Discus, which are fed on a very high protein diet, usually beef heart. And so it's important that you can, if there's any excess food, that you can kind of siphon that away. And that's a challenge if you have, say, a very kind of dense carpeting plant. So I probably won't be having a carpeting plant in there. But I'm open to ideas, guys. 100 gallon, 400 litre aquascape for Discus. What other fish should I keep with the Discus? I have kept Discus and Cardinal Tetras together with Corydoras as well. So that's an option. I could go just purely Discus and just let them be the stars of the show. What colour Discus should I get? Should I get multicoloured, blue and yellow, and mix them all up like M&Ms? Or should I go for a shoal of solid, all the same colour, which is probably my preference as someone that's into a kind of a naturalistic style. But I am open to ideas, and I am open-minded about that. So before I go, I think it's appropriate that we talk about the lights on here. You may have seen the unboxing and initial first impressions of these Cheerio Vivid 2 RGBs, as you can see, giving us great results. The only thing that I have noticed is that the linear filler isn't as red as it used to be with the twin stars. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if it's to do with the level of red in the spectrum, and I could have maybe put more red in the spectrum using the controllable app on these Cheerios. But I have to say I am very impressed with them. They are completely controllable in terms of the spectrum and the photo period and the ramping. So from that perspective, they're brilliant. They're very powerful, and I've really enjoyed using them, and I think they give us great results. So something to consider. I've not paid by Cheerios to say that. It is a genuine independent kind of feedback. I have been running on here for 3 months now, I think. So, it is a kind of, not a long-term review, but, a proven performer. Really pleased that the crypts didn't melt. In fact, the crypts have grown really large. And as you can see, the Hygrophila siamensis 53B growing like a weed as it always does, and the Tenellum carpet there needs thinning out regularly. So yeah, I do recommend them if you're in the market for some high power controllable LED lighting that's suspended. Then do consider the Cheeros. Other equipment choices, we're running the Oase Biomaster 600 Thermo, just one of those. I did run two, but I switched one of them over to the cichlid tank, and I have been getting great results with just the one filter, which is interesting. Although the caveat to that is that I am doing large frequent water changes, so at least 75% water changes a week in here. I have been on, pretty much lockdown, obviously since coronavirus kicked off, so that has given me more opportunity to not only enjoy the aquascape more, but maintain it more often as well. I also have to give a shout out to my eldest stepson Harrison, who, when I'm too busy on other projects, he has been maintaining the tanks for me. So yeah, thanks Harrison if you're watching this, which he never does, funnily enough. The CO2 is an inline pressurized system. I'm using the Green Leaf Aquarium regulator, which is by far the best regulator I've ever used. Highly recommend the GLA, a US brand, but they do ship worldwide, I'm sure. I'm also dosing the Tropica Specialized Nutrition Liquid Fertilizer every day at 25 millilitres every day, using the D&D P1 auto doser and a 5 litre bottle of the Tropica Specialized Nutrition. Soil is the Tropica Aquarium soil. I think I used 4 or 5 bags in here in total. And then you can see the cosmetic foreground there. That's just coarse Maui sand from Unipack. Frodo stone is the rocks that we're using in here. And there's actually a combination of different types of wood in here, different types of driftwood. I forget the actual brand names. Various livestock that's just kind of been evolved over the last few years. Loads of cherry shrimp which are breeding like crazy. There's probably hundreds literally in there right now. And yeah, glass lily pipes, as you can see. The suspension kit here is the Atlantis 1200, I think it's called, or the 120. So obviously designed for the 120 centimetre length of the aquarium. And that's it, I think, in terms of the equipment and the maintenance practices that I'm doing. It's sad to see it go, but really excited for the next project coming soon. I hope you guys are too. I want to thank you so much if you've been part of this journey for the last 4 years, or for however long you've been a part of witnessing and experiencing this aquarium with me through the medium of YouTube. I really appreciate you watching. Drop me a comment below what's been your favourite part of that 4-year journey, and what have been your takeaways. What are the biggest lessons you've learnt? I think, what are the biggest lessons that I've learnt? That's a good point. I think it's reinforced from a practical perspective the need to plant very heavily with fast growing plants in a new aquascape, because when I didn't do that after a rescape, I got absolutely punished with algae. What do you think to the tank? Hey Tommy, what do you think to the algae? And then after I planted a load of fast growing weeds like the Hygrophila there, and I actually planted some Heteranthera zostifolia as well, it just knocked the algae out. No need for chemicals, no need for liquid carbon, anything like that. So just relying on that really fast plant growth to deal with the algae, that was a really great lesson. And I knew the theory behind it, but I'd never really actually kind of remedied it using that technique. So that was a learning point for sure. It's going to be sad to see it go. I'm sure you guys are as well, but I hope you guys are just as excited as I am about the new scape. We're going to have a switch around in the gallery. I'm actually going to make it a lot more naturalistic in here. It's a little bit sterile at the moment. I'm going to switch my working desk around, and then we're going to have loads more house plants, and it's going to be much more of a coherent theme to the GFS gallery. So I'll share that journey with you guys as well. So cheerio to the Aquascaper 1200. Sad to see it go, of course, but like I said, excited for the next chapter for the GFS gallery. I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You take care. Keep on scaping. Cheerio. Evolution Aqua, primarily, Evolution Aqua are primarily Evolution Aqua are known as a pond manufacturer.